us about how you got involved.
How I got involved. Okay, so my name's Stephen. I'm studying a psychology degree at the University of Stirling. I got involved with RLP maybe 4 months ago in the middle of the lockdown. I was approached by Shamila, the managing director, asked if I was interested in coming on board to help deliver a new pathway for employment and education. I met Shamila while I was studying the Access to Degree. Prior to attending that, I had been out of education for maybe 20-something years.
And tell me a wee bit more about how you first met Shamila.
Well, I was in an English class at Forth Valley College, and we were doing a project. I'd been taken away to another room for a debrief, and we'd got into a conversation, and Shamila had offered me a phone number for support, but we'd never actually had a conversation about anything to do with background. We'd only had in-class interactions, so it was quite clear at that point Shamila had a sixth sense. There was one interaction we had in the class, and we were talking about something, and somebody mentioned something about social class, and had made a comment, not just a throwaway comment, not a direct comment, about housing estates. And I had a really strong opinion, and at that point, so did Shamila. We had started to talk about it, and at that point I thought, yeah, that's obviously, I've maybe judged this book wrongly. And then it was only when I went to get a bit of feedback, Shamila had recognised it, or Shamila had thought that I'd been in the care system, and Shamila was right. So I could have asked her for the lottery numbers as well, I suppose, and she could have seen how she got on with that.
And so you're talking about Forth Valley College there and how we met. Talk a bit about how myself and you and the other people who are now working on TIER, how we bonded, you know, and how those relationships still existed 3 years down the line, and how ultimately that's led to us creating the programme.
The bond was formed through a common denominator, which was we'd all been out of education for so long. I think that to some extent we'd all experienced trauma at some points in our life. I think everybody who was in that class at the time, in that college at the time, had the same goal in mind. We wanted to further ourselves, we wanted to go out and get an education to better our lives. And Shamila had already been there, and then when I found a bit more about Shamila's background, as did a lot of others, it was quite easy to form a relationship because we had a lot in common. Traditional education didn't suit me because there were lots of different socio-economic factors in my life at the time. So to meet someone like Shamila and the rest of the people in the class who were so welcoming, the structure of education at that point was so different from what I was used to, was an eye-opener and was actually a pleasant experience, to be honest, for someone who spent 95% of his time looking out the window at school to avoid any kind of interaction at all.
And so you mentioned that you're a third-year psychology student. Tell us a bit more about your studies in psychology and what you hope to do when you come out.
I hope to gain a better understanding of society, human behaviour, what we do and why we do it, and I hope to use it to empower and help others understand the world that we live in, because the world that we live in can be a very, very harsh place when you're left to your own devices. It's only when we work together that we can reach full potential as a group. I mean, every individual has something to give. It just depends, and it needs to be recognised that what they have to give is precious, not so much to the people they're giving it to, but it should be to them also. They should be able to recognise that they have strengths, and these strengths can be put to use, not only to help others, but also to build confidence within themselves. And that only comes through discussion, and that only comes with socialisation. So the psychological aspect of human behaviour and human nature makes it a whole lot easier to understand different human interactions and how everybody has something to give.
Tell us a bit about co-production, about what co-production means to you and how you think co-production will be of benefit to the people who are taking part in the TIER programme.
It's touching on what I already mentioned about people not knowing that they have attributes that can be used. Can be used in academia. Maybe they're good at planning, maybe they're good academics, but they just don't realise that they've just not had the encouragement, they've not had the platform to do it. So to co-produce would be very similar to a football team. In order to satisfy the structure and the criteria, you must have certain elements in place. And these elements all have different strengths, if you must say. The goalkeeper, the defender, the midfielder and the striker and the manager, they all have a purpose. And I'll mention the word manager. The manager doesn't necessarily have to hold all the card. It's not everything, it does not fall on his lap decision-wise. So co-production would be the ball. Everybody gets a go at the ball, and then everybody gets a pass at the ball. Everybody might do something different with the ball, but at the same time, they're all working together for a collective goal.
Tell me a bit about trauma-informed practice and what that means to you, and how we are combining the trauma-informed practice with the co-production and the benefits we think that will have for the participants as well. So
trauma-informed training, and we live in a society that's made up of lots of different people, lots of different social groups who are exposed to lots of different behaviours, and we attribute behaviours to certain characteristics and we judge. So to be trauma-informed, we need to see everybody as equal, in the sense that somebody's pain might feel different to someone else, but at some point in their life they have experienced pain. So we need to make the powers that be aware that people who have experienced trauma need to be not treated a different way, not a different way at all, but we need to understand how that trauma manifests in the individual. Share the knowledge between top-level academics, doctors, dentists, everyone that you interact with on a daily basis, every single service. First, we should start with government services. Just because someone isn't doing what you think they should be doing, they're acting out a certain way, that behaviour has origins, and the origins of that behaviour, probably 9 times out of 10, I can't say 10 times out of 10 because I'm an academic, so 9 times out of 10 that will come from trauma, or they might just be having an off day. I have huge aspirations, and they're built on where I come from, my origins. I've seen what I can do, but I also remember what people told me I couldn't do. I want to make it clear that you can do absolutely anything that you want to do. I hope to inspire, and I hope to use my lived experience as a catalyst for people to go on and succeed and push barriers, and no, never mind push barriers, smash through barriers. We're not pushing barriers anymore. I just hope to provide opportunity, and hopefully it aligns with people's expectations of what they can do.
And tell me a little bit about some of the kind of topic areas we'll explore
in the care sector, further education, in the sense that some people would possibly go to university, go to college, the building trade, IT. The sky is the limit, but we have foundations for what we would like to do. But again, to be co-produced, we will build on that after this cohort have been and gone, and we've got them into whatever position that they want to be in, whether it be education, further employment or training. We hope that the next set of participants will have much more to work with as a base than the people that went before them.
And one final question, Stephen. If you could give any bit of advice to the people who will be sitting watching this video, who are thinking about taking the step of coming onto the TEAR pathway, what would that advice be?
I'd say to approach it rationally. I'd say that the mind is a powerful thing. Sometimes it can be used. You can use it, and sometimes it can use you. So what I would say is, push yourself outside your comfort zone. Now, I'm not saying this as someone who's read out a book. I've experienced it. I've pushed myself outside my comfort zone, and I've realised that the opportunities are endless. So it's about taking that initial first step. With TEAR, it's totally different. You're not going to be pushed into anything. You're not treated as a hard outcome. It's building for the ground up, firm foundations. I always say, if you don't have firm foundations, it's very much like if you build a house on a frozen lake, when the sun comes out, it's going to sink. That's it. Clap myself.